Welcome to Barkhausen Nature Bites. Today we're talking about these critters right here, which are bats. Now there's a lot of information about bats, and I wish I could cover it all in one video. I'm not going to be able to as much as I like to. I'm going to talk more about some of the misconceptions and myths about bats that really give them a bad rap, which is unfortunate because bats are amazing critters and very beneficial to not just us, but variety of plants and animals really across the world. So what are some of those misconceptions? Well, one, bats are just flying mice. That's all they are. Nah, not so much. You know, bats are mammals like a mouse. They have fur like a mouse. And if you're ever curious on what side of the bat has more fur, the outside does. But really, the similarities between bats and mice are pretty small. They are mammals. But think about like a mouse. How many babies a mouse has every year? Well, for a bat, they actually are just going to have one pup, typically for most species of bat, a year, and that's it. So bats, for a lot of them, especially ones here in Wisconsin, have one pup, one young a year, and that is it. So you can imagine that there's a colony of bats and something bad happens to that colony, it's really hard for them to rebound and get that population back. And that's one of the reasons why some bat species populations are really struggling right now. So bats, only one young typically per year, one pup. Mice, a lot. So there's a big difference there. Another one, bats are blind. They can't see. No, they can see just fine. Some bats actually rely on their eyesight to find food. So fruit-eating bats, like a flying fox, for example, they're going to rely on their eyes to find food. In fact, they're really good at seeing at night. They have a thing in the back of their eye called a tapetum lucidum. Try saying that 3 times fast, which basically is going to mirror in the back of their eyeball. And a lot of nocturnal animals have this and reflects light, so you see almost twice as much light as we do. Look at your dog or cat's eyes. Next time you shine a light on them, that's what you're seeing. So some bats can see really well with that adaptation. Some bats can actually see ultraviolet light, so they can see that on flowers. So bats eat nectar, can see ultraviolet light on flowers, which is really handy for those. The bats around here in Wisconsin, they can see pretty well too, including these right here. But at nighttime, their vision's pretty similar to ours, so they'll use more of the echolocation, which I'm sure a lot of us have heard about, to help find the prey and navigate. And echolocation, again, a whole nother topic, but real quick, it's basically where bats are going to send out a high-frequency sound, higher than a lot of kids' screams, believe it or not, and that sound comes back to the bat's ears, and they can figure out what that object is, where is it going, should they eat it, should they avoid it, navigate around it. It's basically like sonar that the bats have, very similar to like what submarines might have. So bats are not blind, that's a misconception. Another big one, bats like to fly into hair, people's hair. Well, it's not a reason why I'm lacking the hair. It's a whole other reason, don't judge. But bats are not going to try to fly into hair. I'm not really sure how that ever got started. I think maybe parents told their kids so the kids won't go out at night, possibly. One thing is, too, if you're walking around at dusk, and bats might kind of dive down near your head, but avoid it at the last second. Well, they're doing that not to try to get in your hair, but think about it. You're walking around at dusk, there's mosquitoes and insects buzzing around your head. What do bats like to eat? Insects and bugs and mosquitoes. So they're going to be diving down eating those. They're basically looking at you as like a walking buffet of all these really yummy insects and saying, thank you very much, I'm going to eat those right up. So bats are not going to try to get in your hair. Another big one, and this is probably the biggest one, bats are big time carrier of rabies. All bats have rabies. No, they don't. They are a mammal and they can carry rabies, but they're not going to carry it any more than any other mammal. And I don't really know how they ever got started. There's a couple ideas why. But don't worry about every single bat out there having rabies. One of the reasons we might think that is that sometimes probably the only time you're going to encounter a bat is if it's in the daytime, because again, the nocturnal, when they're roosting in the day, they're in really tight spaces. You don't see them very much. So if you see a bat during the daytime, and it's probably something wrong with it, although it might not be. There's a lot of other reasons why bats can be active in the daytime, especially in the fall, and I'll talk about that in a future video. But again, for us, maybe it only encounters a bat that is sick, and so we might assume that all bats are sick, but that's nothing be further than the truth. So again, bats aren't big time carriers of rabies, but if you see one out in the daytime, I would definitely give it some space and not bother it. So what are some benefits of bats? What are some really good things about bats? Because there's a lot of them. Well, we know that they're really good at insect control, insect pest control, not just mosquitoes, but even pest insects that cause a lot of problems with crops, cause crop damage. A lot of those out there in the world. Another big thing is bats help disperse seeds, so they'll eat fruit, and then the seeds will come out the other end, and the seeds get dispersed pretty effectively, so big-time seed dispersers, bats out there in the world. Another big one, and we probably don't think about this too much with bats, but they're really big-time pollinators. So we think of hummingbirds and butterflies and bees as pollinators. Well, there's some bat species that fall into that category as well, and they're really effective at it with all that fur on them, all that pollen sticks to their fur, really effective pollinating flowers, and some flowers really rely on bats to pollinate them. The wild agave plant, where tequila comes from, they rely on bats for the pollination. So next time you're having margarita, be sure to toast a bat, because without the bats, probably no tequila, no margaritas. So bats, again, amazing things. I wish I had more time to talk about. I'm going to try to cover more stuff in some future videos. But next time you're out and about, especially this spring and summer, as you're walking around, We've seen bats flying around right at dusk. Just watch them, really amazing creatures for sure. A lot of good things for a lot of people and animals and plants all across the world. And as they're flying around, darting around, it's amazing how acrobatic they are. Thanks for watching Barkhausen Nature Bites.